If I were to really describe Black Adam, I would say it's a huge spectacle, but doesn't really leave a large impression on you. Black Adam has been split amongst audience and critics alike. Now, and this is for good reason, I totally understand why. Going and seeing the film, you get this awesome CGI fight fest. I mean, every time he goes into a combat scenario and he has to fight off a bunch of villains or video game bad guys, it looks amazing. The camera's always centered, the choreographing is on point, the CGI looks spectacular. Matter of fact, you look forward to the next fight scene every time, and that's because in between where the story is supposed to take place, it's not as strong. And really, it comes down to the fact that Black Adam has around 6 to 8 major fights that go on in it. And because it has so many fights, there leaves little room for story, which makes all the side characters and characters, even the main character, turn into kind of just exposition dumps, leaving things lackluster when it comes to very story impactful, emotional moments. There are some huge moments in this film that I think get lost, mainly because we're trying so hard to get fight scenes going on. Now, I gotta give credit where credit's due. The story is cohesive. It makes sense. None of it is out of place, and you're always able to follow along. So it's not that the film is bad. Matter of fact, I think DC has made good films for a while now. They haven't made a bad film since Aquaman. I would even go as far as to say Wonder Woman, excluding Wonder Woman, 1984. Though I do have kind of a theory with that. I think in a lot of Warner Brothers promotional advertising, they spoil their films. And it's almost like they're setting up boxing matches. It's almost like big MMA fights. Like, look at Superman fight Batman. Look at, the Justice Society fight Black Adam. And really, they're investing a lot into their fight scenes. And whenever I go to see a DC film, I'm catching myself being like, oh, this is going to look good, right? Like, when I go to a Marvel film, I'm thinking the choreographing is going to suck. And most of the time they do. There's cuts and nothing's ever centered. And the CGI looks good. And they do a good job with their CGI, except for, She-Hulk. But DC's really got the fighting down, and I would respect them wholeheartedly if they just continue to lean into that. If I just would just turn off my brain and just go watch an amazing superhero fighting boxing match every time I went to go see a DC film. Now, I do think the story could, be strengthened. We cut out a couple big of these fight scenes, and it could go further, but that's kind of where the people are split, and that's kind of why people may not like the film. Overall, it's enjoyable. It's not great. I mean, it's okay, right? Because you don't get those impactful moments. But if you're going there to watch a superhero film, you're gonna get just that. Now, I'm gonna move into spoiler territory here. So for those of you who haven't seen the film, would I recommend it? Maybe with a grain of salt. Don't go in there thinking you're gonna see a masterpiece. But if you want to see some awesome, I'm talking just Saw PG-13 killing people in creative ways throughout the entire film, by all means, have at thee. Now, one of the biggest things, going to spoilers now, that hurt the film for me was there were some interesting story points, and it was very generic, a lot of things that we've seen before, but I think they took things to the next level. One being, every hero kind of has a sidekick, kind of a person that's cheering them on. And the main kid that was with Black Adam, kind of being his guiding compass, was had this really cool story arc where he could be a hero as well. He didn't need to be a god. He didn't need to be as strong as Black Adam or shoot lightning out of his face. He could be the champion of his people just by being brave, by having courage. And they did a real good job trying to show this by foreshadowing it in the beginning of the film with Black Adam's son. And it just didn't hit as well because we didn't really care for the people of that city. We didn't really understand their culture. We didn't understand who they are. It wasn't like, Black Panther and Wakanda. And I kept getting those vibes when I was watching that film. Whereas in Black Panther, we took the time to see and feel what Wakanda was and how those people spoke to each other and even their traditions. I know nothing about that kind of stuff in Black Adam. And I honestly can't even remember the name of the city right now, which so where credits due. I don't remember a lot of things. Really bad with names. That I probably should get better with that. However, I think that was a really cool story point. I think that was a big point, and is huge. You don't need superpowers to be a hero. That's a huge message, and I love that message. But it was cut short because a lot of time when the kid was talking about his people, he would just run up to white people and say, "You're an oppressor. You're a colonizer." Blah 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 blah, and just say this speech, which he's obviously heard from his mother multiple times. But again, his mother, who's this huge revolutionary, who is being chased down by these, mercenaries or gangsters who are trying to keep control of the country, the city, state, whatever it is, are, we know nothing about her. We know not what she wants, why she wants to fight. And it's simple. It's pretty, they paint it white and black, right? They feel like slaves, and so they no longer want to be slaves. When Black Adam goes, wakes up from his 5,000 year imprisonment, he sees that his home people are still enslaved as they were whenever he first left them. So like, I get it. I get where it's coming from, but it's so just thinly layered. It's very surface value. And I wanted to talk about this. I want to get the bad stuff out of the way first, because I genuinely feel like that everything else about the film is good. Even the story is cohesive, right? And I gotta give them credit for making it cohesive. It all makes sense and all fits together. There are probably some other things that I would nitpick. Like, for example, the when we first meet Black Adam, he fights off essentially an army of mercenaries, gangsters, whatever they are. However, if you think about it, there's no reason for that army to be there in the first place. And then when a large new character is coming into play and we are first being introduced to it, the people in the story are first being introduced to it, but whenever they need to catch the main characters up on what's going on, who haven't been introduced, a computer, just a computer senses the character and knows the character's name and tells our heroes who they're up against, and our heroes go down and have to deal with it. I don't know, maybe there was something I missed at that part, but those are little things where I'm like, obviously they didn't have time to fill in those gaps, to lead us to those moments, and so they have to just shoot our in, right? We need this big fight scene, but we can't explain why this big fight scene is here. Go, like, this is why it's happening, like, just a quick exposition, and then boom, here it is. Now, I know I've been bashing on the story and things of that nature a lot. If you're gonna see this movie for anything, it is to watch Black Adam mess stuff up. It looks so good. The slow motion is so fun to watch him shoot electricity, to watch him see things at his speed, watching everyone move slower than him. And then whenever, I think my favorite thing that DC has done is they've shown what these heroes look like when they're going at full speed, right? Like whenever you're watching anime and they blur their arms or they blur their movement to hide, the fact that they're going fast. It's like we see this happening in real time, and it's so cool. I mean, the scale of destruction, the CGI, the procedural CGI, everything that they're putting into this looks amazing. And really, this is what won the fans over. This is what won the general audience over. If you know which direction the story's going and you know why they're fighting, like, yeah, just give us more of this cool, freaking awesome lightning murder fest. And I know I've said it, but I cannot emphasize how boring a fight scene can be if it drags on too long. Yet Black Adam gets so creative with every fight scene. Like, there's always something different happening, and every fight scene may have like a different objective into it. And because of this, each one feels dynamic in its own way, and each one you kind of feel like there's a little bit of pressure and there's a sense of urgency going on, and it makes each one feel super unique, even though his power is just, he's flying, he shoots lightning, and he's super strong. Yet he does so much with it. He does so much in this one movie that I've seen in like multiple MCU films. It's really crazy. It's really cool, and it's worth it's worth watching the film just for that alone. However, I've always thought story is king, right? I've always thought that story is what really makes or breaks a film. You could have bad choreographing and still have an amazing film, because I believe story really gets you there. It's kind of like an art form, and if you're not there to see that kind of stuff, by all means, movies get right up your alley for that kind of things. If you're not there to go cry or to cheer or anything like that, like, go for it, you know. But I do think that it does hurt the film in its own way. It kind of, there's nothing memorable about the film other than how good he is at shooting lightning, and because of that, I really just think this film is just a 6 out of 10. And something I would watch it again, you know, but it's not something I would really recommend. If I did recommend it, it'd be with a grain of salt. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts. Did you watch it? Did you enjoy it? Do you think I'm absolutely wrong? But until next time, play nice.